Enrichment of soil. What is enrichment of soil? What do you understand by enrichment of soil? And why is it necessary? With plants being grown in it year after year, soil loses its fertility. This is because the nutrients present in the soil get used up. In order to maintain the fertility of the soil needs to be enriched from time to time. This is possible by adding manure or fertilizers to the soil. Do you know what is manure? Well, have you ever noticed the gardener bringing a packet containing some dark-colored material which he proceeds to add to the soil in the flower pots or flower beds of your house? Yes, this dark-colored material in the packet is manure, which is prepared naturally in the field itself. This manure is rich in organic matter, being the decomposed remains of plants and animals.
Manure. Manure contains large quantities of organic matter. Manure is prepared by the decomposition of animal excreta and plant waste. Manure helps in enriching soil with nutrients and increasing soil fertility. The bulk of organic matter in manure helps in improving the soil structure. Now this involves increasing the water holding capacity in sandy soils. In clay soils, the large quantities of organic matter help in drainage and in avoiding waterlogging. Using biological waste material is also a way of recycling farm waste. Classification of manure. Now, based on the kind of biological material used, manure can be classified as compost and vermicompost. The process in which farm waste material like livestock excreta, that is cow dung, etc., vegetable waste, animal refuse, domestic waste, sewage waste, straw, eradicated weeds, etc., is decomposed in pits is known as composting. The compost is rich in organic matter and nutrients. Did you know compost is also prepared by using earthworms? They use earthworms to hasten the process of decomposition of plant and animal refuse. And this is called vermicompost. Green manure. Prior to the sowing of crop seeds, some plants like sun hemp are grown and then mulched by plowing them into the soil. Now, why this is done is to turn these green plants into green manure, which helps in enriching the soil in nitrogen and phosphorus. What a bright idea, I say.
Development of kitchen garden. Collect food leftovers or kitchen garbage, such as vegetable peels, eggshells, fruit peels, and tea leaves. Place them in a container. Some dry leaves of plants can also be added. Place the lid of the container loosely and leave it undisturbed for a few days. It will be noticed that the material in the container quickly decomposes into something that turns out to be good manure, rich in nutrients. It is a valuable additive for the soil in kitchen gardens, flower pots, flowering plants, etc. This way, you can help your mother to develop her kitchen garden.
Fertilizers. Do you know what are fertilizers? Well, fertilizers are commercially produced plant nutrients, and what fertilizers do is that they supply nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. They are used to ensure good vegetative growth, that is, the growth of the leaves, branches, and flowers, thus giving rise to healthy plants. But fertilizers should be applied carefully. For example, sometimes fertilizers get washed away due to excessive irrigation and are not fully absorbed by the plants. Now, this excess fertilizer then leads to water pollution and is quite bad, is it not? Also, as we have seen in the previous chapter, continuous use of fertilizers in an area can destroy the soil fertility. So, short-term benefits of using fertilizers and long-term benefits of using manure for maintaining the soil fertility have to be considered while aiming for optimum yields in crop production. Differences between fertilizer and manure. First, a fertilizer is an inorganic salt, whereas manure is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of cattle dung, human waste, and plant residues. Second, a fertilizer is prepared in factories, while manure can be prepared in the fields. Third, a fertilizer does not provide any humus to the soil. The manure provides a lot of humus to the soil. Fourth, fertilizers are very rich in plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, while manure is relatively less rich in plant nutrients.
Water supply to the crop fields. Irrigation. The assured water supply to the crop fields through sources other than rain is called irrigation. Where does this water come from? The main sources of water for irrigation projects are rivers, ponds, lakes, wells, streams, tube wells, etc. Dams are constructed across rivers and the water is brought to the fields by canals. Groundwater from the underground reservoir is also used for irrigating the crop fields. The groundwater is pumped up to the surface by tube wells. These are powered by electric or diesel pump sets. Several precautions have to be taken during irrigation. They are as follows. Requirement of water varies from crop to crop. Every crop requires water at a particular time. There should be proper drainage system in the field as waterlogging may harm the crops. For economical use of water, some newer methods of irrigation can be practiced, such as drip irrigation and irrigation by sprinklers. These methods ensure just the right amount of water supply. In case of drip irrigation, which is useful for certain crops, especially in arid and semi-arid zones, pipes with holes are laid across the field. Measured doses of water are sent through these pipes so that the water trickles out and directly reaches the roots of the plants. Since evaporation losses are minimized, This is a good way of conserving water in hot, dry, desert-like areas such as Israel. Types of irrigation. Here are some irrigation systems and their source. 1. Canal system. Source is large rivers. 2. The source of tanks is storehouse of runoff water from catchment areas. 3. Source of wells is groundwater. 4. Source of river valley system are riverine valleys of mountains. 5. River lift system. Source is nearby rivers. 6. Drip irrigation system. Source, pipes connected to the tank. And 7. Sprinkler irrigation. Source are sprinkler pipes connected with reservoir. Protection of crops. Weeding. Do you think that enriching the soil and providing adequate water will be enough to ensure a good harvest? No. The crops have to be protected against diseases, pests, and weeds. Weeds are the unwanted plants that grow along the main crops and compete with them for sunlight, nutrients, water, space, etc. They also affect the growth and yield of crop plants. It has been noticed that weeds sometimes grow faster than the crop itself. Specific types of weeds grow with a particular crop. Some weeds are poisonous too. Some common examples of weeds are Chenopodium, that is Bathua, Amaranthus, that is Cholai, Canovulus, Curry, wild oat, and grass. Removal of weeds is called weeding. Weeds can be removed by the following methods. Weeds can be removed manually by pulling them out by hand or by using a khurpa, a trowel, or a harrow. Weeds can be destroyed by spraying weedicides. These chemicals do not harm the crops, but destroy only the weeds. However, they contaminate the produce. Weeds can be removed naturally by introducing insects that eat them. This method is known as biological control.
Protection of crops. Different crops are grown for food. In addition to choosing good seeds and preparing the soil properly, the crops have to be looked after and protected against insects, animals, and bad weather conditions. Really, a lot of care has to be taken. First, protection crops from insects and disease-causing pests. Crops should be protected from insects like caterpillars, grasshoppers, locusts, and plant lice. These insects damage the leaves and thus prevent the plant from producing food. Fungi, viruses, and bacteria cause serious diseases to our crop plants. So what can be done? We should take all possible steps to protect our crops against such diseases, right? Insects and pests can be killed by spraying DDT, Gamaxine, Flit, and other such chemicals over the crops with the help of spraying machines. This is what farmers and gardeners do. Protection of crops from animals. Animals like rats, birds, squirrels, and moles eat up the fruit and seeds of crops. They should be kept away from the fields. Make proper fences of barbed wire traps and nettings, etc. to prevent animals which eat the field crops. Third, protecting crops from weather. Store the harvested crops in airtight containers where water, insects, and other animals cannot reach. Seeds should be stored in big bins which are covered and sealed to keep moisture and pests out.